ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new video, guys. So today's video, I'm just gonna be talking to you guys about the things I've learned from owning multiple BMWs. So technically I've owned 5 BMWs. I believe it's been 5. 4 of them have ran, 1 of them did not run. So yeah, pretty much all my experiences with those. I'm just gonna be talking about what I've learned from owning multiple BMWs. Okay, so the first thing I've learned is that German engineering is honestly unrivaled, but it does have its pros and cons. It has a decent amount of cons, it has a decent amount of pros. The one thing that I have learned is definitely the driving experience. Driving BMWs has made me appreciate how nice it is to drive a nice car. Like driving BMWs, I know it's seen as like this weird thing where like you're too good for other people, but for me, I don't really care about that stuff. I just really enjoy driving a BMW. You feel really connected with the road. Everything about it is just super fun. I don't know how to explain it. You just kind of have to drive one to understand. So if you guys have driven one, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Most people are the same way. I just love the driving aspect of it. I love driving these things, having fun. They're really fun to modify as well, but they also have their cons. They can be considered unreliable. It depends on which models you go for. Some of them are pretty reliable, some of them are very unreliable, so it really just depends. But for the most part, they aren't as unreliable as they are made out to be. Lots of people just say BMWs are unreliable and just leave it at that, and they won't ever touch a BMW without giving it a chance. At first, when I first bought my BMW, I thought I was gonna have constant problems, like my car was always going to be broken down, because it's just like this weird misconception that if you own a BMW or have a BMW, it's going to be broken down, which is not the case. So if you get a well-maintained BMW, if you maintain them properly, they can last forever. So it really just depends, but they really aren't as unreliable as they are made out to be. Yes, they have their problems, but every single car has their own significant problems, and it's really unfair in my eyes for people to just shrug them off saying they're unreliable when it's not really the case. It's just some things people say about them. It gives it a bad reputation, but it's honestly not the case. I've had some very reliable BMWs. I've had some very unreliable BMWs. The BMW that I have right now, it has been very reliable for me, and it's a turboed BMW, and I haven't had any problems. The N55 has done me very good. However, I have had other BMWs that have been very unreliable for me and have caused lots of problems. So you really just gotta know what you're getting into when you buy a BMW. That leads me into my next point, which is to be prepared for the problems. It's better to expect problems and be prepared for it than to expect no problems at all and be unprepared for it. So just know that when you're driving a BMW or you own a BMW, that it is going to have its own fair share of problems at one point. Just expect there to be problems and expect to be able to deal with it and be prepared for it, rather than be unprepared and not expecting it, if that makes sense. So just always be prepared for the worst with these cars. Unfortunately, that's something that you have to do, but it's better to be prepared than not prepared. Alright guys, so another thing you need to be prepared for is the maintenance costs. So maintenance can be pretty costly for these, but it's better to stay on top of maintenance than to ignore it. Definitely look into all the maintenance that you're gonna need to do for your BMW. Basic oil changes, you wanna keep up on your oil changes. If things do break, parts are more expensive compared to other cars. That's the one thing I've learned. If a part breaks on a BMW, it's pretty expensive. I've driven other cars that are not BMWs, and I've bought parts for the other cars, and the other cars' parts are so much cheaper, and I'm just like, I go into the auto parts store expecting to pay a large amount of money, and then it's like way less than what I thought with another car. But with BMWs, the parts are just so expensive. If you guys are looking for parts, this is not a sponsorship, but FCP Euro has the plug for parts, lifetime warranty on any single part. So just thought I would mention that. So if you guys are planning to get a BMW and you want to get all the maintenance stuff done, definitely go to FCP Euro and check out all the parts that they have on there. Lifetime warranty, you cannot complain with that. But yeah, just expect high maintenance costs, especially if you pay somebody else to do it. A lot of the things are pretty easy. You can do it on your own, but some people aren't as mechanically inclined, so you are gonna have to pay mechanics more, because for some reason mechanics don't want to work on BMWs as often because they think it's harder, which in my situation, I'm so used to BMWs that this is the normal, and when I look at like an American car, I'm like, I don't know anything about this car. So it really just comes down to how much you're willing to spend on maintenance. If huge maintenance cost is a big factor for you, then you probably don't want to jump into a BMW. If you are looking to get a BMW, start out with the cheaper models and work your way up to the more expensive models. Learn your way around a BMW before you buy the expensive models, and then also come with more expensive price tags on maintenance as well. So if you are trying to jump into a BMW, go for the cheaper models like an E46 or an E90. That's where you want to start for sure. I would say stay away from 7 Series entirely. You don't want to mess with any 7 Series. Bad experiences all around with my friends. You don't want a 7 Series for sure. 5 Series aren't that bad. 3 Series is honestly the way to start off. I would suggest either an E46 or an E90 or an E92, somewhere around there. Those are pretty basic and easy. Not many crazy problems with them, so it's a good way to start off. But yeah, definitely start off with the non-turbo BMWs and the non-V8 BMWs, because you don't want to mess with those from the start, because those are just going to give you a nightmare and it's going to give you a bad taste for BMW. So definitely start out with like a naturally aspirated inline 6 BMW and you're going to be solid. Those never fail. The naturally aspirated ones never fail ever. So the turbo ones and the V8s are where you're going to find problems, and the V10s. So stay away from those. The diesels can be pretty good as well, but over here we don't have many diesels in America, so I don't really know what to say about the diesels. But for the gasoline or petrol, whatever you want to call it, BMWs, inline 6 is the way to go. So you can never go wrong with it. All in all, BMWs are very fun cars to drive and very fun cars to modify. So if you guys are looking to jump into a German car, I suggest a BMW. The BMWs that I've owned are an E90 325i manual. That was my first ever BMW. It was pretty reliable, never really had too many problems with it. The second BMW that I owned was an E46 325i as well that didn't run. I was gonna try to get it to run, but it just ended up not being worth it, so I just scrapped it. The third BMW that I owned was a manual E92 335i with the N54, which I sold after a few days and profited. I profited a lot off of that one. That's the reason why I sold it. Fourth BMW that I owned was an E82 135i, which I just made a video on as well. It was a 135 with the N54 engine, automatic. That one caused me a ton of problems. I had so many problems with that car, so I got rid of it after a few months. And then now I have this car, F30 335, which has really never let me down. Mechanically, it's been very solid. I've maintained it really well. Honestly, 10 out of 10. Cannot complain about this car because it's very solid. These are the things that I've learned about owning a BMW. It's not as bad as people say it is. It's actually really fun. It can be stressful though in certain times depending on which BMW you get. So that's why I say when you're starting off with getting a BMW that you get one of the more reliable ones. So if you guys enjoyed this video or if it helped you in any way, go ahead and leave a like down below and make sure you subscribe while you guys are at it. I would really appreciate it. It would really help me out. Also, make sure to check out my Instagram. I'll go ahead and throw it up right over here. And guys, remember to stay safe, stay happy, and stay in that project car. I will catch you guys later.